States. I've been in Florida for the last 10 years, primarily residential construction, but some light commercial with firewalls and fire assemblies and three-story product. And the residential industry has just become so cutthroat. They want you to build more for less constantly. And I've had a couple of instances where I've been asked to do things that I know better than to do. And I'm candidly said, I'm not going to jeopardize my license over your efforts to save money. So if I can't do it right, I don't want to do it. And again, the only thing in this industry you really have is your name and your what people know about you. So if people think you're a shyster or you've moved around a lot to try to get ahead, you don't win. It's a very small industry, as you well know. Once you're in. But once you get labeled as a shyster or a, bait and switch kind of person, then you really don't last very long. And I don't like where my current company has got us positioned right now.
Yeah, I have to. As you were candid, I'll use that same word, candid. I like that, and the reason I like it is because most people that I come across in life, I have zero interest in. I'm not really a people person. I'm not the kind of guy that you come on to the job site and you go, hey, take care of this and we'll get you on the next one. That kind of shit pisses me off. And I don't feel like I could exist in your market where relationships matter. And that's part of the reason that I think my dad got into federal construction in the very beginning, because you get the jobs on your own merit and it's a level playing field. And we can compete on a level playing field. These guys that are, negotiating things behind your back or using your price to negotiate something else with somebody else, I just wouldn't last very long in that kind of a marketplace. So good news, all that shit doesn't exist in the federal market. Really, do you have any questions? Because there's things that I can teach in this that you're really going to like. But before I get into that, I like to just kind of get a sense of what your expectations are or what you've heard. Because a lot of people come into these meetings with what I call head trash, things that they believe are true that aren't necessarily true because they heard them from someone or someplace or that kind of thing.
I interact with owners of companies on a constant basis, and some of the bigger companies in Jacksonville, and know how they all got their humble beginnings and where they've worked through. But it was all boiled down to integrity and work ethic. They did what they said they would do, and they followed through, and they got it done. And they were all able to capitalize and build on their business based on that. And if I have nothing else, I have those two things. I do have capital and I do have financial backers, although it doesn't seem like it takes a lot of that to get into this end of the industry. I'll have a LLC in place. I'll get my EIN number. And, I don't know, do I need a good, Duns and Bradstreet score to get in with the federal government? Is that important to them? Those kind of things, just really a baseline.
Yep. Okay. So I'm gonna briefly recap how you and I ended up in this conversation, and then I'm gonna answer that question. I froze? Oh, hold on a second. I know why.
Yeah, you're cool now.
Hold on just 1 second. There we go. This should be a lot better. Okay. So in that video, I talked about my brother's accident, how we did $1 billion worth of work. The accident happened. We got pulled out of the construction market to focus. Alexa, stop. To focus on my brother's recovery. And then my dad wrote that article, and we ended up on speaking engagements, and then we taught all these classes over the years. For years, there were, I've been in this in this market for over 3 decades, and so things have changed with the government. And the reason I'm mentioning this is you mentioned Dun & Bradstreet, and it's no longer required to have a Dun & Bradstreet in order to get registered in SAM. They changed to something called EUID. Now, the only reason I know that is because my wife does all the SAM registrations for guys that come into my program. I told her 10 years ago when we started GC Experts, I said, you need to become an expert at this because we're going to be bringing people in and they're going to need SAM registrations. So she has done, I think, around 100 SAM registrations. She's really good at it. She charges $700 to do it. But I also say in these things that getting SAM registered is free. If you want to beat your head against the wall and go through that effort and you know, run the risk of not getting it right and all that kind of, dude, knock yourself out. It is free, but she'll do it for $700 and get you SAM registered. And what I usually tell people is just invest in the workshop, get her packet of information done. It's a 3-day workshop. It's 27 hours of training, but it usually takes people, because it's an on-demand, you can pause it, take phone calls, take your kid to school, whatever, come back and hit play. It usually takes guys about a week to get through it. And in the time that you're going through the workshop, she can be working on your SAM registration. But did you come across one of my videos where I talk about RFQs, requests for quotes?
Yes, I did watch part of one. I don't think I finished all of that one, but I did see about, and then you showed your tool that you created to go check on those or follow those or seek those out.
Bid Tracker. Yeah. We invested $250,000
yep.
and we created that, and it costs us about $25,000 a month to keep it functioning. But it is, I mean, I'll just tell you that SAM.gov is free. You can go to SAM.gov and you can search jobs for the federal government for free. And so you're looking at a guy in the eye that spent $250,000 so I don't have to go to that fucking website. That should tell you something.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you're like, there's got to be an easier way, and nobody's going to show me, so I'll make an easier way. I love it.
So, yeah, you know, that's kind of the deal. Now, but I do want to make sure you understand this RFQ thing, because usually guys like you that get the whole deal, hey, I give somebody some money, he teaches me the quick way to get there. I like to really drive home the value in these conversations. And the RFQ thing, the whole thing about it is that it is no risk federal contracting, and anybody in the construction industry that hears the term construction and the words no risk is usually immediately skeptical. And right. So if you haven't watched that in detail and you have time to go through it now, I'd like to teach that to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I've carved out the time today.
Great. Okay. I can see that you're in your car, so you don't necessarily have a second device. And usually I ask somebody to Google something for me. But for the purposes of this discussion, and I am recording this, I can send you a copy of it after we're done. But our federal government operates under a rule book. It's called Federal Acquisition Regulations. This is everything how they acquire construction goods and services. We refer to them as the FARs, the Federal Acquisition Regulation, the FARs. And there's a particular FAR, if you Google it, it's FAR 13.004A. And this FAR is titled The Legal Effect of a Quotation. The legal effect of a quotation. What it literally is the legalese associated when you turn in a bid. And this FAR is unique to federal government construction. It doesn't exist anywhere else. It doesn't exist in the real world. And when you read the first sentence of Federal Acquisition Regulation 13.004A, it says a quote is not an offer and consequently cannot be turned into a contract. And that's weird language to most people in the construction industry. A quote is not an offer and therefore can't be turned into a contract. See, if you call me up and you say, Sean, I need you to build me a 200 square foot tiny house, give me a price, and I sign a quote for $100,000 and I hand that to you, you can sign it and turn it into a contract. But when I take that same quote and hand it into the federal government, they cannot turn it into a contract. And the very next sentence says, therefore, if the government issues a contract in response to a quote, it's null and void. So in other words, the government recognizes that everybody in the government might not understand the first sentence, and they might take your quote and turn it into a contract, but if they do, it's null and void. Because we already told you, you can't take a quote and turn it into a contract. So how does a quote become a contract? Well, that's the rest of the paragraph. And I haven't committed the rest of it to memory. I'm just going to explain to you what it means, because it's really all in legalese. When you turn in a quote to the federal government to build this 200 square foot tiny house, they have to take that quote and give it back to you as an offer. And the last sentence of that says that the offer becomes a contract when the supplier accepts the offer. And that's really weird language, but that's the way it works. They have to take your bid and give it back to you. It's strange, but that's how it works. Now, when they do offer it back to you, you have 4 options. Number 1, you can accept. Number 2, you can withdraw. Oh, for heaven's sake, my marker's gone bad. Hold on a second. You can withdraw. Number 3, you can negotiate. And number 4, you can stall. And so, look, when you turn in a quote to the government, they've got the money already allocated for the job. You never have to argue with the government about money because they've got the money. They can't put a job out for bid unless they've already got the money to support it. Okay? So I turn in that quote for $100,000. They offer it back to me. When they're offering it back to me, what are they trying to get me to do? In other words, of the 4 options here, they're trying to get me to accept it. They want to get it off their desk. They're going to exchange dollars for risk. Construction equals risk. They're exchanging dollars for the risk. Okay? They want me to accept it. But what I do is I stall. I say, I'm sorry, I wasn't expecting your call. Can I call you back in 24 to 48 hours? Then what I'm doing is I'm calling a guy like you, and I'm saying, hey, Chuck, my name's Sean. My name's Sean. I'm a national federal contractor. I do everything from wind tunnels, water treatment plants, to kitchen renovations. I'm calling you today because there's this 200 square foot tiny house in Jacksonville, Florida that needs to be built. I looked on Google Maps. I came across you. I'd like to send you over the plans and specifications. When you get them, pick up the phone and call me. I'm already familiar with the job, and I'll walk you through it step by step. So then you get the plans and specs, you look at it, and then I say things to you like this. I say, look, just tell me off the cuff some number that if I called you up 90 days from today and said, hey man, we got the job, that we'd be close enough to negotiate something that makes sense. I don't want you, Chuck, to add up every nut, bolt, screw, 2x4, shingle. I just want you to give me a number off the cuff that if I called you up, we negotiate something that makes sense for both of us. So under this hypothetical situation for a 200 square foot tiny house, give me a price.
You're for the tiny 200 square feet.
Yep. There's no wrong answer.
$70,000.
Okay, so he tells me 70. Now I know I turned it in for 100. He's telling me 70, and so that's about 30% margin. So I might say, hey, Chuck, for $70,000, that's the number where I can go sit on my boat and drink beer for the next few weeks, and you're going to take care of everything, right? You're going to go out on the job site, you're going to take 3 pictures in the morning, 3 pictures in the evening, you're going to text them to me, I'm going to have daily reports, all the wage rates are going to be met, I'm not going to worry about anything. $70,000, is that the number?
Yes.
Okay. Then I call the contracting officer up and I accept. And now I make $30,000 for a couple of phone calls. Give me another price.
95,000.
Okay, 95,000. I turned it in for 100. I call the contracting officer up and I say, hey, suppose I need to change my bid to 135,000. I enter into negotiations with them.
Okay.
But one of my options, now give me another price.
105.
Okay? 105, I might still try to negotiate it. But maybe he says 150 and I just go, well, fuck it, I withdraw. In other words, one of your options on every single bid you ever turn in, when they call you, you can withdraw and there are no consequences. Understand, people with head trash in your industry, the owners that you deal with, if you keep withdrawing your bids, how much longer are they going to keep coming to you to get bids?
Right. They're either going to go, I got to get real. Yeah.
That's right. But in this business, in federal government construction, there is no risk to turning in a bid because they can't turn it into a contract and you can always withdraw. It's totally different than what happens in the real world. So what happens is, if you can withdraw every bid you turn in and there's no consequence to turning in a bid, how many should you be bidding?
As many as I think I can handle at any given time.
That's right. The answer is all of them, and then you only accept the winners. That's why my guys are so successful. This thing, you just got 10 minutes of training of the actual workshop, which is 27 hours of training. And it's all like this.
Well, yeah, real world applicable scenarios but it's like step A, B, and C. It's not, Chinese arithmetic to try to get to the formula.
No, because we're contractors.
I like that.
Look, I know what it takes to go out on a job site. I've been going to job sites since I was 15 years old when I backtalked my mom and my dad stuck me in an attic in 29 Palms, California, insulating ductwork for the Marine Corps. Okay? I've been in this business a long time, and I've seen a lot of shit, but I'm telling you,
Yeah, my dad was a custom builder, and I thought my name was Damn It Boy till I was 19. So, you can use that one.
At this point, what I want to do is, when you invest with us, I want to show you what it looks like. So this is actual content from day one.
And then put the BIG over the opportunities. Big problems equal big opportunities. If somebody needs something, and they really need it, they're desperate to get it done, you understand that's the opportunity you're looking for, the need. Okay? You focus on the need. Everything gets focused on the need. What's the need? Do you have a budget? Once I understand the need, I focus on it, I understand it, repeat it back to them. Is there anything else you want to elaborate on? Or anything else I should know? Okay, problems like that usually have a budget associated with it. Can you share that with me?
And this is it's shot from the perspective of the viewer, right? So it's you've always got the best shot. We got camera angles in there and everything. Here's part of day two.
Really the genius part. I told him, I want your costs to be more than the contract amount, and then I want to put a cover letter that says, "Dear contracting officer, you said you would look at our costs. And when we put our costs together, our costs were more than the contract amount, about $1,200. Could you please ask the government's attorney how I can get that $1,200? Because I don't see how I can get it." Now, that's an innocent-sounding question, isn't it? Hey, our costs are more than our contract amount. I don't know how to get that money. Can you ask your attorney?
Do you remember me saying that the rule was if there's only one bidder, and that bidder is 15% or more above the government estimate, they cannot award the contract? Why does our government, in their infinite wisdom, have that rule?
Protects tax dollars money.
Protects tax dollars, right? Because Sally, what's she trying to do? Get George's job done. He needs it. It's his money. He went and asked for it to fix his fish hatchery. It's sitting on her desk. He needs it done. It's not going to get done until she finds a contractor she can award it to. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So suddenly somebody turns in a bid for $1 million.
The basic concept here is that we're the guys that did 1,000 federal contracts that generated $1 billion in revenue. It was an accident that we happened to get into the, we didn't just wake up one day and decide to become the government construction experts. It just happened naturally. And again, there's no if you buy now. It's just if this is the route you want to go down, we're the guys that can help you get there.
Sounds good. Yeah, where I went and took my licensing class when I moved to Florida was kind of the same way. It's like, look, this is what I charge. Here's how much the books are. If you want, you can go and just buy the books and study all you want, but I can help you pass the test. And once you sign up for my class, you can come back for as long as it takes you to get through the class and get past the exams. And so, it sounded like it was an equitable kind of thing here. And that's why I wanted to take the time to meet and speak with you and see what were the ranges. Is it an in-person thing or is it Zoom only? How do you get the 27 hours?
When you invest with us, we have an investment page that you go to. I don't share it publicly, but I'll text it to you in a minute. But when you invest with us, this is what your screen looks like. It redirects to this page. So the moment you put your credit card in there and hit go, this is 10 hours the first day, 11 hours the second day, and 7 hours the third day. So this is literally what it looks like after you invest with us. You just come in here and you hit play. You can pause it, you can rewind it, you can, it's the whole thing.
All right, and you have access, and so do we get a certificate that we've been through your program, or is that even necessary to get? It's just you're offering that as an option to understand the dynamics better.
The problem with, people in Florida aren't as bad as people in California about this, but let me tell you what I mean. In California, you have to get not only a state construction license, but you have to get a license in every single city that you work in. And so I get a guy on a Zoom like this from California, and I tell him, dude, I have done hundreds of millions of dollars of construction, at least $80 to $120 million of that in California, and I have never had a license other than a driver's license. And their heads explode because they know how much work it was to go get a state license. But I'll tell you that you can tell me, Chuck, can tell me where to go get a state license in the state of Florida because you have done that. You can't tell me where to go to get a federal government construction license because it does not exist.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
All you have to have is a company that is registered with SAM, and that is it. That is your quote-unquote license. That is your open playing field. That is all you need in order to go out and start bidding federal contracts.
And you're just giving us the playbook, if you will, on how to maneuver through the troubled waters of federal government contracting by taking your 27-hour course.
It can't be done in half an hour. It can't be done in 3 hours. It takes that amount of time to wrap your head around the entire game. And to answer your question, yes, you're going to want to go back and watch certain parts over again.
Yes. Yeah, I would see that. I can see that. Yeah, I know it's probably, and it's a longer timeline. Like you said, you have, you can stall and say, hey, I need 24, 48 hours. But like you said, they've got a surplus of contracts they need to get awarded, of projects they need to get completed. And you quoted it on there. There's only 25,000 federal contractors, and there's $1 billion worth of work, or billions of dollars.
It's even better than that, Chuck, because listen to this. The biggest guy in my program, like the biggest contractor, does $30 million a year in federal contracts. They're issuing $1 billion a day.
That's yeah. And I'm fighting tooth and nail to get subcontractors signed up because they don't want to work for what my corporate office is willing to pay.
And
And
on
that
our
just- it
side,
seems
it's much
obtuse.
more. On our side, it's much more different because typically that 200 square foot tiny house isn't going to cost $90,000 to do. It's going to cost about $40,000 to do. And so when I'm having that conversation with them, I'm going, look, I know you said 40,000, but suppose I gave you more than what you asked for. Would you do this, 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 and this? They never hear that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hell yeah. For an extra 20 grand, I'll give you 5 pictures a day.
And
Twice a
I
day,
don't,
you know?
and I don't give two shits. There's so much money in it, it doesn't matter. I just don't want to have to worry about anything. Look, I'm telling you that fundamentally what I just taught you is the reason all my guys in those videos are saying, "Oh my God, this is the real deal." And honestly, Chuck, I don't mean to be narcissistic, but I seriously don't know why I'm not the most popular guy on the internet.
I feel that way sometimes, but I haven't started I haven't started my OnlyFans page yet. So when that comes out, then I know I'll have it made then, Sean. So okay. Well, what are the next steps if I want to pursue this?
I'll text it to you right now. Hold on just one moment. There it is. So when you hit the go button on that page, it puts you right into the training. And then I just tell guys, the first thing you want to do is get my wife to get you SAM registered, go through the training.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as if you have questions during the training, just pause it and jump on a quick Zoom with me. You'll have my cell phone number and my direct cell phone number, and you'll be able to text me and we'll communicate, jump on FaceTime, whatever. But I'll get all your questions answered, but get through the workshop, and then let's start going after and getting federal contracts.
Sounds like the fun is just waiting on me.
It is.
So, yeah, I mean, I've been in this market now for 10 years. I've got the biggest framing contractor, the biggest landscaping, the biggest crane company. I've got, I literally can go anything they want: roofing, upfits, remodels, plumbing, disaster relief, water intrusion remediation, whatever. And and I'm sitting here fighting over whether I can pay the painter $1.05 or $1.09.
One of the jobs we talked about in the workshop was at Naval Air Station Corpus Christi. They had a sinkhole, and they had obviously a pipe underground that had burst or and somehow decomposed, or a root grew through it or whatever. They were losing water. And they gave one of my guys a $40,000 contract to replace a 4-inch T.
A 4-inch T?
Yeah.
How deep was it?
12 feet.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, you can rent the backhoe to do that one. So
Yeah.
That's crazy. But they got to have it. They got to have it when they got to have it.
The first email we sent you when you got signed up in our system, it's in your spam, and I'm sure you haven't read it because it's in your spam. But if you go find that email, the very first one we sent you, there's an attachment of a $107,000 award, $107,000 to install a 3-ton air conditioner, no heat. And the proof
So
is
would that
attached.
have come from you, Sean, or from GC Experts?
It would have come from Sean at gcexperts.com. It's in your spam, and it says something along the lines of "Welcome to the world of federal construction."
Okay.
And if you find that email, you're going to see the federal government award of $107,000, and you're going to see the scope of work was to install a 3-ton air conditioner. No heat, and that's it. That was the job. There is so much room in this business. Anybody could have bid that for $50,000, made a shit ton of money, and beat us.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. And we've got, I've got NAS Jack's base on one side of the river.
Well,
I've got
then
Mayport Shipyard.
You've also got the Veterans Administration over there in Gainesville. Dude, there's so many
Yep.
federal things around there.
Yeah. Yeah, all the outdated, unsafe post offices, they've had to reduce the building down to the foyer. With
but
many of them.
Now, let me tell you, you're thinking in terms of what I can go do. You're thinking in mental terms of what Chuck can go do. And what I'm telling you is in the training, we're going to show you how to take what you know locally and expand it nationally.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for your time, Sean. Very, very insightful. Very exactly what I was looking for. You've got the recipe and the playbook, and I'll review that when I can get home and open it on a computer and actually look at it.
Yeah, no worries. But look,
and see about the next steps.
Chuck, I never expect in these conversations that someone's going to go, "Oh my God, here's my credit card." This is just a conversation between two guys to figure out if, really just to figure out if I'm full of shit or not.
Exactly. I love it, and so far so good. So I appreciate the conciseness of it and the reading your audience and know that that's what I needed and wanted was let's just get to the nitty gritty. Show me what you got. The 10-minute lesson there about how the contracting works is like an aha moment. So that's a very, very strong move on your part. So I'll be reviewing that in more detail. I have to do a presentation on Wednesday to the owner of Mattamy Homes, who's flying in from Canada because my division president is too much of a pussy to do the damn PowerPoint himself. So I'm kind of booked until then, and then but then I'll be sitting down to review this in detail.
I'll be here, man.
All right, man. Thanks so much for your time. Enjoy your weekend.
Yep, have a good one.
All right, buddy.
Do your taxes go up? Does the value